Hey, what up, Long Beach? Welcome back to your home for everything local sports here at the Press Telegram and GazetteSports.com. It is Long Beach Sports Talk, where we'd much rather be talking about football. As always, I am co-sports editor JJ Fiddler. To my right,
feeling a little lonely, co-sports editor Mike Gardavasio, because for the last time, to my right,
it's Tyler Hendrickson, and it's the final podcast. One last time, got to thank those sponsors, Naples Rib Company and Long Beach Transit. Did you know you can ride Long Beach Transit to Naples Rib, and then you don't even have to worry about being functionally capable of driving after you throw down a hog pack by yourself?
Obviously, we're going to be talking about the football coming up this weekend, junior college and high school. A couple really interesting matchups that we will get to. But first and foremost, I know we're not breaking any news here, but if you have not heard, the Lakewood-Millikin game on Friday night was more than just a football game. An incident during, an incident after. We've got the story up, and so does USA Today, the LA Times. It's become a national story. Almost 100,000 views on the video that we put up. We will get to that in a second, but first, if you haven't heard, rumors swirled after an alleged incident on Friday night between those two teams. According to multiple anonymous reports, and I can't stress enough the word anonymous, Lakewood parents confronted Millikin players in the visitors' locker room following the game, and allegedly the confrontation stemmed from a play during the game in which a Millikin football player kicked Lakewood receiver Victor Bates in the face after his helmet was knocked off. It was a very physical game, but I think everybody can agree that there is absolutely no place in that in high school football, let alone any sport activity. So Lakewood and Millikin obviously dealing with this situation, and then the second situation, the adults and a minor. Legalese is very tough to get through, and we don't have as much information as we would like to give you. That said, we do know that Millikin football program and head coach Derwin Henderson are disciplining the player in question for Millikin, and at Lakewood, head coach Jimmy Nolan is just trying to keep his team together at this point. And he was also very happy that his team did not retaliate immediately on the field. They were able to keep their cool when something that crazy happens.
Right, and that's a good point. It would have been very easy for things to get out of hand in that moment, and you can see in the video that Lakewood players did see it happen. That's the part of the story that isn't alleged, because we have video of the kick happening. So we can see that, and a lot of people have seen that by watching the video. The coach's film also shows it very clearly. So that's the part of it that we know, and like you mentioned, JJ, the Lakewood players did a good job. They didn't just start a brawl at that time, but it would have been understandable for them to do that, because that was a pretty heinous act to see that on a football field. But we didn't exactly notice it right away. It wasn't until later that we realized what had happened in the video.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was at the game getting the video. There were two big hits on that drive. Monty Peterson and Anthony Carswell, helmets popping off. That's obviously what led to this incident. But I put that up saying, big hits in this game, not realizing. So I guess if I were to put myself in the shoes of the referee or referees on the field, from my angle, there was a lot of stuff going on, and it is possible that they didn't see it because, and this is a big because, there was not a flag thrown on the play.
which is kind of surprising, obviously, when anything of that magnitude happens. But, I mean, you guys both said it. I think if there's a positive from the night, I guess, which there really isn't, it's that, that could have escalated into an on-field incident that was much bigger than what even had happened. And glad, certainly, that we didn't have one of those situations like they've had in the South Bay the last couple of years where there's a big, fight with players from both teams. It's just an ugly situation. I mean, especially with all the allegations about everything that happened afterwards. We've been our coverage has been the subject of national interest this week, and for all of the wrong reasons. We prefer when people can't believe that, say, Jack jumped over a kid, that we've got viewers in New York popping up all over the place, but certainly not for stuff like this. This is not the way I want to see a JJ Fiddler clip on KTLA, I'll tell you that.
Oh, you and me both, buddy. Yeah, it's not what we want to be talking about. It really is one of those situations where you don't know what happened because there are so many different versions. It's high school. That's what happens.
But obviously, this is certainly occupying our time. We'll be continuing to report on this along with help from the news side over at Press Telegram, since this has turned potentially into a criminal investigation. So look for more on that story later. I just kind of maybe wanted to give people a little bit of an idea of the, not necessarily behind the scenes stuff, but JJ was at the game. There are only 2 reporters at this game. There's 100 reporters talking about it. So, Jade, what did you see? I mean, the word in the comment section has certainly been that it was kind of an intense game, a lot of personal fouls and stuff like that. Was it to kind of have that feel of an ugly game, I guess, throughout?
No. It felt like a Moore League football game that we loved in 2008 and 2009. It was physical. It was in your face. Neither team backed down. It was a good game. Obviously, there were a lot of penalties, and that happens sometimes. It's been happening more and more every year. But at no point did I feel like, oh, this thing could get out of hand in a dangerous way. Again, I was standing right there getting that video clip, and I didn't see the incident on first or second watch. So maybe if I saw that, I would have had my ears up a little bit more after the game, because I was actually talking to head coach Derwin Henderson, Milliken's head coach, while the incident post-game was going on, because the Milliken players walked back to the visiting locker room, which is not something that usually happens specifically in Moore League games. You'll always see the kids running out of the locker room after halftime with the bags in their hands, and they just set them on the sidelines. That's because it's a lot easier, safer, and faster for a team to finish a game, talk on the field, walk to the sidelines, grab their stuff, go to the bus, be gone. As opposed to, and if you know the blueprint, ha ha ha, pun intended, if you know the blueprint of Lakewood and Milliken, when the visiting team goes back to that locker room on the left-hand side behind the stands, that's exactly where the stands will empty out. That's where the parents walk immediately after the game. There was almost no way that the Lakewood fans weren't going to see the Milliken football players after the game, when that's where they were headed anyways.
One thing that's been interesting to me with all this national attention is I think people are kind of feeding this into this larger story that's sort of going across the country right now of sportsmanship in high school football and what kinds of values are high school football players learning and stuff. And
Lack thereof.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really interesting. To me, I don't really, for example, the Press Telegram ran a column from our colleague Tim Grobeatty, questioning whether it's the right move to just completely eradicate high school football. And I've sort of seen that sentiment around. My thought on this is kind of, to some extent, the Long Beach Unified School District wears the blame for incidents that are going to happen in football because they're not properly supporting that program. If you had a music program at a school with 250 kids in that music class, and you basically weren't really you're paying someone $4,000 a year to watch that class 4 hours a day, you would kind of expect some things to go wrong there, and that's what's happening across the city with these football programs. We had all the forfeits last year, and now, these discipline issues, and this is from a school district in an area for decades and decades was known for being the disciplined, under control, talented football area. I think we talked about this last week. Milliken winning football championships in the 1970s with 3 offensive plays because they were so disciplined that people couldn't stop those plays. So to me, I look at this and go, this is really a time that if the Long Beach Unified School District knows what it's doing athletically, and they have not really shown that to be the case over the last few years especially, this would be a time to examine that and go, gosh, if our community really values this sport and it's a program that everyone wants to have, maybe we should put as much money into it as we do these sort of pilot programs that might interest us academically. Because at the end of the day, this is a sport that it really does, if taught correctly, teach young people a lot of good values. And, this is no disrespect to the coaches. I think one thing that we always say, JJ, when we talk about this on-campus versus walk-on coach thing is walk-on coaches who are hired on campus would be better coaches, right? And like Mark Ziegenhagen at Wilson is on campus constantly. Antonio Pierce at Poly, when he's around, he's on campus all the time. That kind of thing is what you don't normally get out of a walk-on because their stipend is it's $5,000 or $6,000. This is not that much money if you have to actually earn a living somewhere. So to me, certainly, yes, you can hire a better class of candidate if you're offering $40,000 a year instead of $6,000, right? But to me, this is a time to look at this and go, isn't this worth it? I mean, when Jerry Jaso is on campus at Long Beach Poly, when Dick DeHaven is on, and John Ford are on campus at Lakewood and Milliken, wasn't that better for the city? Not just for people who want to go and watch football, but didn't they have control of 100 or 200 students and make sure for an extra 3 hours a day at practice that they're learning the right values, they're seeing the right things? And then during the day, didn't you have an extra administrator basically as a football coach who's still a teacher? No one's suggesting there'd be full-time football coaches, that these guys then be able to monitor what's happening on campus. That's just the reason that I'm confident that would be better than, say, eradicating high school football, is because from 1908, when the city of Long Beach started playing high school football, until right about 2009 when the economy collapsed. That was better. That worked for 101 years. And the defunded, stripped down, unsupported way the district has of doing things now is very clearly not working. So to me, perhaps they should consider trying the thing that did work for 100 years.
And you can say the same thing about the sport of football. It also worked for a really long time without completely filling the police blotter and the off-the-field issues. I honestly think it's time for the football. And listen, I'm one of a million people that can say football's made my life better. By playing it, by being involved in it, by writing about all told. Football made my life better, for sure. But it's time for the football world to look in the mirror and really ask itself, what are we about? We've got discipline issues in high school where more money, more problems. You see all this money being dumped into high school sports, but it's not making it much better for the average high school football player.
Well, one thing I'd point out exactly to your point, JJ, is that money is finding crevices to flow into because the sport is not being properly supported by a lot of school districts. And so as a result, well, someone's got to pay for all those uniforms, right? I mean, I think by allowing this sport to become privatized, you're just like what happened with basketball with AAU, you're inviting more of those problems than if you said, hey, this is an on-campus thing, just like music or math or whatever else. This is a specialized academic program, and we'll support it as such.
Well, it only gets worse when you go to the next level. You look at college football, and you've got NCAA fat cats, and I will call them that, making millions and millions of dollars off the hard work of football players. Do they get their education? Absolutely they get their education, and that is worth something. But their likenesses and stuff like that, that's just wrong. It's been wrong, and they're trying to fix it, but it's not being fixed fast enough. And then you go to the top of the ladder, to the top of the wall, and it's CTE and everything happening with the NFL right now and how things have been swept under the rug. What are we about? What is football about? Is it not 11 different people coming together as one for one common goal? That's why I watch football. That's why I wake up early on Saturday and Sunday after long nights of working on local stuff. That's why I love the sport, is because it's the ultimate teamwork sport. It's time for these football coaches, football teams, districts, NCAA, NFL. It's time for people to start working as a team. Because when that happens, maybe people will take more responsibility for what happens when things do go right, they do go wrong, and then be able to fix them when the time's right.
We've got some matchups locally in the next couple weeks that are going to have huge impacts on the CIF ranking, so we're going to whip through those things real quick. St. Anthony, number 6 in their division, and Valley Christian, number 8 in their CIF divisions. Those two teams are playing at Clark Field on Friday, so that's big. In the Pac-5, no real surprise there. St. John Bosco still number 2, Long Beach Poly still number 6. They took a 2-spot tumble after losing to Bishop Gorman. The Braves now up to number 3 in the country on USA Today and number 5 in the country on Max Preps, where I think we all feel they may be underrated at number 5 in the country, actually. They're that good. The Southeast Division, a.k.a. the Press Telegram Division, Dominguez is number 3, Downey's number 4, La Mirada number 6, and Paramount number 7. I think that tells you how big that Dominguez-Downey game is going to be in a couple weeks, and you got a number 3 and number 4 team in the CIF. Then Los Alamitos took a bit of a tumble. They were number 4 in one of those coveted top 4 spots, but after the loss to San Juan Hills to drop them to 2-2 on the season, they fall to number 7 in the West Valley Division. So some ground to make up for them. Avalon remains number 2 in Division 1 of 8-man football, and that's what we got.
By the books. By the books.
Kind of a light week for high school football here in the local area with the San Gabriel Valley League taking their bye weeks before they start league play, but it all gets started on Thursday night at Veterans Memorial Stadium. Los Alamitos back at home taking on the number 1 team out of the LA City section, the Narbonne Gauchos, a team we saw take on Poly and fall to the Jackrabbits, but Los Alamitos has been falling literally lately. Back-to-back losses, starting with the heartbreaking Hail Mary-induced loss to La Habra, and then they went on the road and dropped one by a large margin. So the Griffins are trying to get right against a very good football team.
Very good. I'm expecting a lot of points in that ball game on Thursday night, so everybody come out and check that one out. That's the hottest game in the area for sure on Thursday. Going to the Burbs, La Mirada staking their claim to the Suburban League right now, but a battle the rest of the way, and it looks like Mayfair and Norwalk should be a very good game. That's going to be on Friday night. We will have that game covered at Excelsior Adult School. La Mirada head and shoulders above the rest of the league, it appears, but the Chase Pack will be defined by the Monsoons and Lancers.
This is really going to have Derek Bedell putting his money where his mouth is, because he is the first-year head coach at Mayfair, but he is a long-time coach in the Suburban League, and I talked to him before the season about how the Suburban League really has every type of offense you can think. La Mirada's going to spread you out 5 wide. Norwalk's going to line up in the wing tee. Mayfair's going to do the no-huddle stuff, so you really have to be ready for everything. Well, going from last week to this week, two very different opponents, can Mayfair's defense slow down that double wing and take hold of that second-place spot in the Burbs?
Moving on to the game you'll be at, the clash, as we mentioned, of small school powers, St. Anthony and Valley Christian at Clark Field. You said there's some bad blood in the history of this game, right?
Yeah, you got to go back a ways because they haven't played against each other for quite some time. St. Anthony has taken the last 3 matchups against Valley Christian in recent years. Woody Grayson over there at Valley Christian and Mario Morales at St. Anthony, getting that rivalry renewed. Reason I say you have to go back a while because current Wilson head coach of baseball, Andy Hall, was at St. Anthony, and current athletic director at St. Anthony, Brian Walsh, went to St. Anthony. When Coach Hall was coaching Brian Walsh, that's when this rivalry was really real. And it was so real because these schools are so small, it was basically like playing the same kids in every sport. You'd play them in football, and then you'd play them in basketball, and then you'd play them in baseball. And next year, you're seeing the same kids again. So maybe after a while, when these two schools kind of start playing each other a little bit more, we'll see that rivalry start to build back up. But rivalry notwithstanding, this is going to be a quality football game on Friday at Clark Field. Obviously, the Saints offense is cooking with B.J. Busby in the backfield, and the Crusaders offense is cooking with Robert Downs in the backfield. The Men in Blazers would love this tall v small matchup because it is going to be nice.
Oh, you're absolutely right, JJ. So that one will be a lot of fun. Going back to the Moore League, Poly going to finally play a game at Vets. Everybody else has been playing at Vets except for the Jackrabbits. Their first home game of the season as they host Cabrillo on homecoming. The Jags, this is their first Moore League game, so we'll see what they can bring to the table coming off a win against Compton Centennial. Speaking of Compton, the Tar Babes are at Milliken, so that's the round out of the Moore League games. Milliken on a 3-game losing streak. Compton looking for their first win of the year under new old head coach Calvin Bryant.
Back to the Burbs real quick. La Mirada is going to be at Artesia. Matadors trying to stay atop the league while Glenn is at Bellflower.
Not all of the SGVL is on vacation. It's not the San Gabriel Vacation League this week for Warren, as they are hosting Gardena. The Bears looking very good this year, trying to get into the hunt in the SGVL, along with Downey, Paramount, and Dominguez. RDP at West Adams Prep. The Lobos struggling in the preseason record-wise, but playing good teams, so they are starting league play with that game against West Adams. Fireball is at Emmanuel Arts at 3 p.m., so some afternoon football if you like it.
Our 2 8-man powers are going to be playing on Saturday at 7 p.m. Avalon is going to be visiting Animo Leadership at Locke High School, while Downey Calvary Chapel will be visiting Lighthouse Christian at Daniels Field.
All that coverage, you know where to find it, Press Telegram and GazetteSports.com. And as always, make sure you're following us on Twitter at PT Gazette Sports. Tyler Hendrickson is leaving us for a job at Long Beach State. We couldn't be happier. We couldn't be more proud. But we are going to bust his balls before he leaves.
Welcome to the roast of Tyler Hendrickson.
Oh, it's lit. Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
When I met Tyler,
Where's Jeff Ross when you need him?
he was 4 years old, and he went to preschool with my little brother.
This is a true story.
And I looked at him and I said, I bet that kid's going to work for me one day.
And I don't remember that because I was in preschool, but it's now where Vinny goes, which is awesome, and it's such a Long Beach story.
That's true. Yeah, it's been nice. It's been great working with Tyler. There's 2 ways to say goodbye to somebody. We could play an acoustic version of Into the Great Wide Open. Or we can make fun of him. I guess we'll just land somewhere in between. What's your favorite Tyler moment, JJ?
My favorite Tyler moment was when I found out he was Young Doug from King of Queens. Because there's a lot of ways in which that can happen. It can be something that somebody literally wears on a sign that they carry around. Like any conversation that gets brought up, you know that they were on this show when they were a kid.
He's sort of that guy.
He can be that guy sometimes.
He's half that guy.
But we went a while knowing each other before I even found out about that, and then obviously the sense of humor that Tyler has about it is nothing short of delightful. I think I send a monthly picture of working real late at night doing some stuff and watching syndicated television and having Wonder Woman pop up on my screen every now and then. I think those are my favorite Tyler moments. But to be completely honest, professionally, I think there are maybe a handful of people in the entire world who could have stepped into a weird situation that we created out of thin air and not miss a beat the way that Tyler did. It was unprecedented, and then he made the unprecedented unprecedented.
We've got some other stuff we'll probably be posting later this week with some Tyler stories, but I'll just tell people the story of how Tyler started working with us, which was he also went to high school with my little brother, so I'd known him for a while. Then went to Long Beach State. He's a big fan of ours, basically. He's a big fan of local sports.
Oh, that's what you call an explain-a-brag.
But it's kind of funny because it is for someone to have been a 5-year contributor, which at this point is he was there for 5 of the 7 years we've been working together, JJ. I believe the way he started working was like we weren't going to go cover the Poly football at Narbonne game, and he was like, I'll go do it. With like his own camera and like filmed it, and then basically just wanted to hang out on Friday nights after football games, and then somehow turned that into kind of a career. So good job on that.
Essentially rubbing twigs together, and then now I have made fire. So it's like that's what the advice that I give people. It's like I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew people that were doing something that I found interesting.
You had less than no idea. We had to tell Tyler the first time we covered a game that the final score of the game had to be at the beginning of the article. I recall.
Oh, it's lit. So like that's the thing about it. You find something you love to do with awesome people that you want to work with, and then you just make that work out. It doesn't work for everyone. It worked for me, and it's been an incredible 5 years. And I can't thank you guys enough for just letting me sit in on the process and annoyingly like watch you work over your shoulder, so that when I actually did start working in an official capacity, I could be up to speed to a certain extent. It wouldn't take me so long to get where I am today. So it's been an unbelievable ride. So many great memories. So I thank you guys. I'm really going to miss it.
Well, we'll miss you too. I think I speak for both of us when I say it doesn't work for most people to find a job or a career the way you did it. But most people are neither as smart nor as hardworking as you are, nor as fun to be around. So certainly from us, we do a lot of our work in the midnight hour around my table. If you were annoying, we probably just would have told you to go home.
Yeah, and now we're glad that the new job isn't going to take you very far, so we can turn around and annoy you during games at Long Beach State. Get ready.
Don't be surprised if I hit you with a go home, Roger.
That's it. That's all. There ain't no more. Another episode of Long Beach Sports Talk in the books. As we said at the top of the show, we will be updating you on that issue following the Lakewood Milliken football game. Obviously, all of the coverage Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have to mention Long Beach City College and Cerritos. We have got two very good JUCO football teams in the local area, and this weekend on Saturday they're going to be playing some really big games. Long Beach City is going to travel to Mount Sac. The Vikings are ranked 5th in the country in large part due to their defense. Woof, do not take on that Black Swarm. They are all over the place. I think 21 sacks and almost 20 turnovers forced in their first 4 games, which is amazing. And the Falcons, not to be trifled with, are going to be at home taking on Pasadena City, a team that struggles, so the Falcons could put up some big points as well. They are at home at 7 o'clock at Cerritos, and like I said, Long Beach City College going to Mount Sac for that game. Obviously, coverage of both of those games can be found at Press Telegram and GazetteSports.com. So, let's get back to football, because that's why we do this. For everybody involved in the Press Telegram and GazetteSports.com, for Mike, for Tyler, for JJ, for Vinny, I'm getting verklempt, man. I'm not going to be able to do this for that much. I got to throw it to the correspondent. What you got to say?
Can Monster Vinci say, bye, Tygo?
Bye, Tygo.